almost to the day my 1-year anniversary of telling stories. It was these two kids here. I haven't told stories my whole life, but it was these two kids here who said, come on over by us and do a story. And so I did a bunch of stories.
Come by us.
Yeah, come by us over there. You talk from the south side. And so I did, and I've done a lot of stories, and next month is my first paying storytelling. Yay! I thank you two for that. And my promise is familial, not romantic. It was the winter of 1977. I was at the epicenter of a tornado. My crew was at odds with other crews in the neighborhood. One girl tried to light me on fire in my sleep because I broke up with her to date her older sister. And Eugene the Huffer was looking for me to discuss what may or may not have happened with his sister Brenda behind Hawthorne Racetrack. I was a typical 15-year-old kid living in Cicero, Illinois. Enter Billy Castle. Everyone has a Billy Castle. Billy Castle is the embodiment of that voice in the back of your head that convinces you to do things you know you should not do. His perfectly creased denim bell bottoms seem to instill trust until you see him slinking away while the fat school security guy drags you into the dean's office. Now, back in my day, when crews were at odds, the weapons of choice tended to be fists, maybe combat boots. Worst case scenario were those wooden tire checkers our dads bought at the Union 76 truck stop. For those who don't know about the wooden tire checkers, imagine a mini baseball bat with a band of steel around the top. I'm sure some people actually use them to check the tire pressure. Now, when Billy Castle presented me with the opportunity to deliver an old handgun to a guy known only as Peanuts, I didn't think anything of it. I figured I could use the old firearm to gain some street cred while making $20 in the process. Where's the harm? I followed Billy Castle to his locker where the gun hung carelessly on the hook like some kind of small metal hoodie. He handed it to me with as much care as you would hand a hot dog to a fat kid. I slipped the gun in my briefcase and walked away with a glowing fire in the pit of my belly. Yes, I said briefcase. In my day, backpacks are not quite the ubiquitous school supply we know and love today. Carrying books, if at all, was for other people. I had taken to carrying a black plastic briefcase because I thought it would be cool. It was not. Now, I had an ancient firearm in my briefcase tucked safely between a Mad magazine and a pack of Marlboro Reds. I only needed to make it to the final bell and I was home free. When the next passing period bell sounded, I headed to the one room I spent the most of my high school career, the lunchroom. Billy Castle went to the student smoking lounge. I got in the lunch line where Maggie, the Zoptic line cook, gave me an order of lumpy mashed potatoes and gravy. Maggie was the stereotypical lunch line lady, jovial and generous with a wilting beehive under her hairnet. She was always good for mashed potatoes and gravy. I got my chocolate milk on the way out and sat down in the neutral area of the lunchroom. The neutral area was for the smart kids, the outcasts, and the wrestling team's cheerleaders. It was no man's land where you could never find a cool kid, but you could eat your lunch in peace. I began to eat my mashed potatoes when a pretty girl started teasing me about the briefcase. She was harmless, so I teased back. She was not of my universe, so I was surprised that she would speak to me. But there was no bad intention from a cheerleader, not even a wrestling cheerleader. I soon took the teasing as an opening to impress her. I slowly opened the briefcase and showed her the old firearm. She scooted away quickly, leaving me a little surprised. Within minutes, I was surrounded by 3 uniformed Cicero police officers. One of them grabbed my potatoes and threw them across the table. My potatoes. He grabbed me by my arm, The second grabbed the briefcase, and they, along with the third, shuffled me out of the lunchroom with military precision. The silence was overwhelming as they jostled me down the hall. They brought me up to the dean's office. The second cop tossed my briefcase on the dean's desk. The first cop threw me into a chair. The third cop smirked. The dean looked at me with irritated indifference. He opened my briefcase and began to pull everything out. He got my cigarettes. He got my Three Stooges Zippo lighter. He pulled out my books, my Mad magazines. He ripped my Commodore's street sheet music from the bottom of the case. Take him out of here, the dean said without looking up. By that point, 2 detectives had arrived. They swept me out of the chair in handcuffs and out to the deserted school corridor. They led me down the grand marble steps and out into the street. They gently set me in the back of the cruiser, and we drove the 5 blocks to the Cicero police station. Now, when you're a teenager, alone in a jail cell, when you should be in school, there's really very little to compare to that. The conflicting gang graffiti scared the shit out of me. I was alone in a cell, but the ghosts of those who were there before me warned me this is not a place I should ever get comfortable in. After what seemed like hours, the keys jangled in the door, and I was escorted out of the cell. When I saw my father's face, my stomach dropped. His look of disappointment absolutely destroyed me. He finished the paperwork, and we walked out the door together and into his old blue Chevy Impala. We didn't speak the entire way home. The silence squeezed out any hope I had of getting through this quickly. I was sure I was going to catch a well-deserved beating. My father never spared the rod, but I have to say, I never caught a beating I didn't deserve. Walking into the house, still in absolute silence, I headed to the cellar stairs, where I expected to get my punishment. Did they feed you in there, he asked. I froze. Have you had lunch, he asked. That question burned me worse than any beating he could have given me. At a time when I should have been feeling the sting of the leather belt, I felt the sting of my father's kindness. He was dragged from his bed and forced to drive across town and bail me out of jail. He knew what was coming, and he was worried that I was hungry. Should I go downstairs, I asked. Let me get you a sandwich, was the answer. Weeks of lawyers and meetings culminated in me finally standing before a judge. I wore a borrowed blue suit and my father's old work shoes. My mother sat quietly by as they discussed my future. My father used a lot of vacation time and sick days to get me where I needed to be when I needed to be there. When the judge finally asked if anyone had anything to say before he passed sentence, my father said, Your Honor, Paul is my son. He's going home with me and his mother today. He's not going to St. Charles. He's not going to a juvenile facility. He is a boy who needs to be with his family. If we have to move to Canada, we will. I will take my son far away from you and this place if that's what it takes to keep him with his family. With respect to the court, my son is coming home with me and his mother. He will stay with his family. The judge paused. If you're such a good father, why are we here today? My father answered. I didn't say I was a great father. I said I was his father. I went home with my parents that day. I was given 2 years of supervision and homeschooling provided by the school district. I wish I could say that my father's grace and generosity were enough to keep me on the straight and narrow. That would not be honest. It took a number of years and a few more jail cells to realize the gift I was handed that day. Now, most of the guys that I ran with in 1977 are either dead, or in jail, or in Tennessee. 3 faces that make me shudder. I eventually got to the point and straightened out my life. I continue to honor my parents with everything I do. My mother was of the theater, and my father loved the theater, and I'm blessed to play tribute to them often in the greatest theater city in the country. Thank you.
Well, really.